healing after addiction doesn't feel the way I thought it would. I thought it would feel obvious, like relief, like peace, like waking up one day and knowing something was finally over. That's not how it happened. Healing didn't arrive as a moment. It arrived as a shift. And at first, I didn't even trust it. When people talk about healing, they often describe the absence of pain, less anxiety, less sadness, less struggle. But healing after addiction didn't start with less pain for me. It started with more awareness. I noticed my emotions before they overwhelmed me. I noticed my body before it shut down. I noticed my thoughts instead of being dragged by them. That didn't feel like healing. It felt uncomfortable. Healing didn't take my bad days away. It changed what happened inside them. Before recovery, bad days meant escape. They meant numbing. They meant checking out. They meant doing whatever it took to stop feeling. After addiction, healing meant staying. Staying present when my instinct was to disappear. Staying honest when lying would have been easier. Staying connected when isolation felt safer. That didn't feel gentle. It felt unfamiliar. Healing after addiction feels quieter than people expect. There are no fireworks, no permanent sense of arrival. Instead, there's a growing steadiness. I started noticing that I could handle things I used to avoid. Conversations I would have escaped. Feelings I would have numbed. Days I would have written off completely. Not easily, but destroying myself. That's what healing looked like. Not happiness, capacity. Healing after addiction feels like having more room inside yourself. Room to pause. Room to breathe. Room to choose a response instead of reacting. That room doesn't come all at once. It's built slowly through repetition. I also thought healing would mean feeling confident. Instead, it made me more honest about my limits. I learned when I needed rest, when I needed support, when I needed to say no instead of pushing through. That honesty didn't feel empowering at first. It felt humbling. Healing after addiction also changes how you experience time. Life slows down, moments stretch, feelings last longer, days don't blur together the way they used to. At first, that slowness can feel heavy, but eventually it starts to feel like presence. I didn't suddenly love my life, but I stopped wanting to escape it. That was a huge turning point. Not dramatic, but real. Healing doesn't erase your past. It changes how much power it has over you. The memories are still there. The consequences are still there, but they stop deciding everything. Healing after addiction feels like rebuilding trust slowly with yourself. Trust that you'll show up. Trust that you'll tell the truth. Trust that you won't abandon yourself when things get uncomfortable. That trust isn't a feeling, it's built through action. Some days, healing feels boring, and that's something people don't say enough. Boring means predictable. Predictable means safe. Safe is something addiction never offered for long. Healing after addiction also means grieving what you lost. Time, relationships, versions of yourself that never got the chance to exist. Healing doesn't skip that grief. It makes room for it. But here's the part that surprised me most. Healing didn't make my life perfect. It made it livable. I could wake up without dread, go to bed without regret, move through my days without constantly cleaning up damage. That didn't feel like joy. felt like relief, and relief turned into steadiness. Life after addiction isn't loud, it's quieter, and in that quiet, you start to notice things you couldn't before. Your own resilience, your own growth, your own capacity to stay. Healing after addiction feels like becoming someone you can live with, someone you don't need to escape, someone you can be honest with, someone who can face life without disappearing. If you're early in recovery and waiting for healing to feel obvious, I want you to hear this. If your life feels slightly more manageable than it used to, that's healing. If you're staying present on days you would have escaped, that's healing. If you're choosing not to destroy yourself when things get hard, that's healing. Healing after addiction doesn't announce itself. It shows up in what you no longer have to recover from. Stay long enough to notice, not because it becomes perfect, but because it becomes possible. Truth brings light.